Tango and Cash, the 1989 American buddy cop action film starring Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell, features the two as cops that are thrown into a investigation after they are framed by some mysterious 80s mustache twirling bad guy. Pop Tot, this was your choice. What do you think of Tango and Cash?
Well, this is the consummate 80s buddy cop movie. This is, to me, this is Lethal Weapon meets The Odd Couple, right?
Yeah. You tell me who set us up. I don't know yet. Yeah, you don't know shit.
They put Sly Stallone in like a more prim and proper kind of cop, but he's still a badass. And Kurt Russell's kind of like the down and dirty jeans wearing guy. And I absolutely adore this movie. I love the chemistry between the two actors.
I've got seniority.
Doing some digging on this, and I hadn't seen this movie in probably a decade or longer. I was actually surprised to find out that it was actually Patrick Swayze that was supposed to be Kurt Russell's role.
That part threw me off too.
He couldn't do it because of Roadhouse production, and he had to bail out, and they got Kurt Russell, and I'm like, I really can't picture Patrick Swayze film with Sly Stallone.
Yeah, I think the movie is okay, and then when they get together, immediately it's like, oh shit.
You know me, huh?
Yeah, I hear you're the second best cop in LA.
That's funny. I hear the same thing about you.
Stallone is investigating, he's getting set up, and he ends up running into Kurt Russell's character, and they have this like moment where they're pointing guns at each other, and there's just like, it's just a spark.
Really? You pulled that trigger, I'm gonna blow you in half. You got the visual?
You are fucking deluded, pal. You never had a chance to hit me with that gun.
No, that was this one. This one.
Right.
And this
immediate chemistry.
Yes, immediate homoerotic chemistry. No, I'm just kidding. But this movie has so many homoerotic moments to it, between them being wet every damn moment. They're showering together, and they're talking about each other's Johnson.
Relax. Soap. And don't flatter yourself, Pee-wee.
It's like they're like high-fiving, and you know it's hilarious. But
this is 1989. This is like the last of the 80s cop movies, and it didn't do great, the reviewers, but I think it did pretty decent in the box office. In fact, for decades they talked about doing a sequel, and they never did.
It was nice to it was just nice to be in something again together, and we did get to talk about this a lot. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do that sometime in the future.
The bad guy, the center bad guy, the mysterious figure, was played by none other than Jack Palance, who was City Slickers, played what's his name in the Batman, 89 Batman.
You are my number one guy.
He's a really good villain. He has that kind of like gravitas to him when he talks.
Instead of death, we have a game that only we can win.
Now, the two secondary bad guys were two-dimensional 80 bad guys. They really were
we did have Mark Alamo, who is famous as Gul Dukat from Deep Space Nine.
Right,
he played
right.
Lopez, but he had like, there was just no, I mean, it's not even two-dimension, it's like a quarter of a dimension. There is nothing to these characters. And then another famous 80s action villain is Robert Zadar, who's famous for his gigantic chin. He's like super henchman man.
You broke that jaw?
You deserved it.
Why did you do that?
The whole plot wraps around the fact that the two of them basically keep crashing this evil guy's plans of, you know, distribution of weapons, money, and drugs, and all that.
These two cops are driving me crazy. We have to do something about this.
And so he's going to frame them, and they're two typical, we screw up cops, but we forgive you. And they get caught on this conspiracy, they get sent to prison, they have to break out.
I don't think there's a golf course here.
I told Miss Tot, this movie feels so corny that it has to be intentional.
Come on, this is bullshit.
Like,
oh yeah, no,
there's so much.
Guys, I'm gonna put brown sugar in your ass!
I was actually saying to myself, they live in the Last Action Hero.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Because they broke about 40 laws and killed about 80 people getting out of prison and
it's hilarious.
Getting to the bad guy. Yeah. And then the last scene is a paper of them being reinstated as cops and hoorah. And I'm like, wait, they still committed crimes.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really care.
There's a part where you're meeting the bad guy faction or whatever, and they're going through the warehouse, and you see all the bad guy henchmen in the black outfits just loading, cocking the assault rifles and stuff. I'm like, this is like the last action hero. It is so on the nose.
Yeah.
And they even have the big dark room with the multiple screens and all that, and he's sitting there spinning the chair.
May I help you?
Yes. Could I speak to the drug dealer of the house, please?
I beg your pardon?
Teri Hatcher plays Sly Stallone's sister, and she is an erotic dancer. Even her erotic, quote unquote, dancing was still like you would see in Last Action Hero, right?
Yeah.
It was. There's something about this movie. It makes me very nostalgic for the '80s.
Drop the duck.
All these like side characters. There's the little Owen Gadget guy that makes that gorgeous truck.
Oh my God, he's like guys, hello.
Hello, you guys ignoring me? And
what was that noise?
And I love that truck. Me and my brother absolutely just love that truck, and it's just a modified Silverado, right?
You even have I think he's made other appearances on Lost and Found, as well as Clint Howard is Stallone's Slinky guy in the prison cellmate or whatever.
And even that stuff's funny when Kurt Russell comes to Sly Stallone's prison cell.
What's this? This is my fiance, Slinky.
The dialogue was just natural between them. The runoff between the two actors was natural. It felt funny.
I am gonna date your sister.
Apparently there was a change in direction. There
four
was
times. There was four different directors, and
the movie was intentionally meant to be more darker, like Cobra or those kind of movies from the 80s. But the last director did some reshoots and added the comedy, and felt that there was more of that comedy shtick between the two actors.
Yeah, I guess like you said, they wanted to aim for more of a spoof like The Last Action Hero, which I'm pretty sure The Last Action Hero came a couple of years later. And there was some that were like, no, we need to make it more serious. And I mean, they even make, the opening scene, Stallone makes a joke about Rambo being a pussy and all that.
Yeah.
And they're,
Who in the fuck do you think you are?
He thinks he's Rambo.
Rambo is a pussy.
I think you could kind of feel it in terms of the plot just being kind of nonsensical, just whatever.
Insistent people make me angry. Everything is under control.
I think around when they get out of prison, just kind of drag.
Nag.
There's like 10 minutes where it's like they don't really do anything. And, that's when they get Teri Hatcher, and then they have the whole...
Well, let's see if we can slip it back in.
Set up at her house or whatever, and then you get to have Kurt Russell and him bickering and all that, and it just kind of drags a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing, right? If you do a dissection of this movie, as we often do, that there is more time spent at Teri Hatcher's character's house than there is spent them digging into the people that framed them.
Oh yeah, and even then, like when we get the setup of both of the characters, there's not enough to ground how dangerous they are to the bad guys' operation and stuff. It
waltzes in and takes all my drugs, and then Tango's back out again.
And even still, like it's almost like the police force is so annoyed by what they do that I'm like, they're that dangerous? These guys seem like loose cannons anyways. I don't...
Right.
I want your badge, I want your weapon, I want your ass. Who in the fuck do you think you are?
Question him. The guy that just tried to blow you away? Forget it. Stay away from him, Gabe.
And I guess that aids to the bad guy's plot or whatever, is they are so loose cannon or whatever.
They're heroes already. Why make martyrs out of them?
The bad guy's just, he's so silly. He's goofy, and it's...
What was with the mice?
Oh my God, yes.
Him and the mice, and putting him in he had a
the
bar
maze.
With a maze set in it. And, he had this pole barn building set up, but he had this really elaborate 80s office
he had
set up inside of it.
Like this super television stuff. And because he was trying to use like the mice, like I'm controlling them, and it's supposed to be some metaphor for how he's controlling Tango and Cash. And then they even have like some sort of maze at one point. It's so silly. And then at one point you're like, okay, we're done with the mice. And then he brings the box out again. He just starts like making out with them. And I'm like,
drop the duck.
It kind of feels like there is a movie trying to be serious with it being like the Last Action Hero, and it kind of clashes.
Who holds the pink slip, Satan?
As we normally do on Lost and Found, Lost, you leave it to the streaming nether realms. You go watch Madam Web. Or Found, you go and seek it out, you watch it, and you enjoy it on a weekend like I did. Pop Tot, where are we putting Tango and Cash?
I'd get it. I'd watch it. I actually own it. I would plan a weekend, maybe a Sunday afternoon, watch maybe some Lethal Weapon, Red Heat, which is another good one.
Yeah.
And in this movie, and settle down into some 80s buddy cop film nostalgia.
Don't worry, Cash. Someday the other one will drop.
Attaboy, Tripod. You just keep talking.
Sure thing, Minnie Mouse.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if it didn't have these two in it, it would be below average, and that might be nice. But then the moment the two get on, there's just instant chemistry that just works.
Did you sleep with my sister?
Oh, I don't believe you.
Did you bump uglies with my sister?
Bump uglies.
It's entertaining, and the best scenes are when they are going back and forth, and it works so well. There's times when you're like, oh wow, I have no idea that there was production hell, and then there's times where you're like, this makes no sense, somebody screwed up somewhere. Go and watch it. It's fun there's tons of that 80s music that feels very similar to like Beverly Hills Cop and all that.
Oh,
or Lethal Weapon.
I was actually going to look it up for this recording, and I forgot to. The synthesizer and everything, it felt to me like the composer is probably the same one that was on Fletch.
Come on, this way.
Cash, do you know where you're going?
So I cheated, because I normally don't do this beforehand, but I just looked, and you're correct. It's the same one that did the Fletch movies.
No way.
He did Beverly Hills Cop.
No
He has
way.
2 Grammy Awards. That makes sense.
I was just pulling that out of my butt, but it felt very much like there was definitely tones of Fletch music in there.
Yep, so it definitely fits, and his last movie was actually Top Gun Maverick. So very interesting, but yeah, it definitely fits. But yeah, I definitely enjoy this. I highly recommend it, and go check it out and watch it whenever you can. It's fun to go back to the 80s and see these two at their heights. As usual, leave us your recommendation. We love to hear them. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. It all helps so much, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Guys, I'm gonna put brown sugar in your